At the beginning, an inner narration stated that this took place after the first semester closing ceremony. The scene shifted to the faculty room, where Sadami Kumada cheerfully called out to Nagoro, saying that this was the first time she had ever asked him to run an errand like this. Nagoro replied awkwardly that he felt a little old to be running errands. In his thoughts, he introduced himself as Manamichi Nagoro, a first-year high school student whose specialty was studying and whose grades were always at the top. Because of that, he had never imagined that a teacher would single him out for anything. Kumada casually responded that, to her, all students were still just kids. Nagoro sighed in response. She then pointed at him and told him not to agree so easily, insisting that she was still young enough to pass as his older sister. Nagoro repeated her words in disbelief. She sat down and lectured him, saying that he still had a lot to learn and that he needed to work on how he treated a lady. In his thoughts, Nagoro described her as his homeroom teacher, Satomi Kumada, 31 years old, the one teacher he did not know how to deal with. Due to her baby face and short height, students called her Little Kuma. Nagoro asked what the errand was, mentioning that summer break would start the next day. Kumada confirmed this and asked whether he knew about remedial lessons in addition to summer classes. Nagoro replied that remedial lessons were the penalty for students who had failed classes. She corrected him, explaining that they were meant to help students catch up so they would not have to repeat the semester. She then clapped her hands and explained the task. There was one student who probably would not show up for remedial lessons, and Nagoro's job was to deliver that student's daily assignments and make sure they turned them in no matter what. Shocked, Nagoro demanded to know why he had to do it. Laughing, Kumada handed him a paper and reminded him that he owed her a favor. Nagoro groaned and, after looking at the paper, thought back to the end-of-term test. He had pulled an all-nighter cramming university entrance exam questions, made a careless mistake due to lack of sleep, and forgotten to write his name on the Japanese test Kumada herself was in charge of. She reminded him that forgetting his name normally meant a 0, but she had let it slide, meaning he now owed her. Nagoro realized she was cashing in that old favor and accused her of saving it for this errand. Shaking, he asked if she had planned it on purpose. She teasingly dodged the question and added that part of the reason she asked him was because it was him. She asked whether he was busy during summer break. Nagoro replied that he had summer classes and cram school. She noted that it was all just studying and recalled that during self-introductions he had said he had no hobbies. She asked whether he read manga, played games, liked idols, or was secretly an otaku. Nagoro denied all of it, stating that he only studied. When she praised his diligence, he asked her whether she actually thought he liked studying. As she smiled, he grew tense and reflected internally that it was not about liking or hating studying. Ever since childhood, his mother had forced him to study. He had not hated it, but he had never been allowed to do anything else. Eventually, studying became the only thing he had left. He admitted that he would not say he liked studying. Kumada repeated his words with a knowing grin, leaving him stunned as he wondered what she meant. She then announced that she had good news for him. Alarmed by her timing, Nagoro demanded to know what it was. She handed him a paper and revealed the student he would be delivering work to. Reading the name, Makura Koiro, Nagoro realized it was a girl. Kumada added that she lived alone and jokingly warned them not to have late-night study sessions. Nagoro questioned whether it was appropriate for a teacher to suggest that. Ignoring this, Kumada told him she was counting on him starting the next day. The scene then shifted to the following day. After finishing summer classes, Nagoro picked up the remedial homework from his teacher and headed to Makura's place. He stated internally that he had come because he had no choice. Standing in front of the house, he confirmed it was the correct address. As he climbed the stairs, he thought about how he wanted to finish quickly and go home. He had heard she was a shut-in and hoped she would at least be someone he could talk to. He wondered what kind of person would come out. Reaching the door, he decided he had no choice but to try. He rang the doorbell. A voice from inside told him to put the homework in the mailbox. Shocked, Nagoro objected, thinking that would not work if she skipped remedial classes. Who knew whether she even checked her mailbox? He apologized and insisted that he had to hand it to her in person because there were things he needed to explain. After a tense pause, she asked him to wait a moment. Nagoro sighed in relief, thinking she would actually come out. Minutes passed 2, then 5, then 10. Sweating, he wondered why she was taking so long and thought he could have memorized dozens of English vocabulary words by now. Complaining about the heat, he decided to practice vocabulary while waiting. Finally, the door opened. Makura apologized for making him wait. Upon seeing her, Nagoro froze in shock, thinking that an incredibly cute girl had appeared. He confirmed her name, and she introduced herself. He immediately thought there was no way he would forget someone this pretty after meeting her once. He asked whether she knew him. She replied that it was their first meeting. She then cheerfully asked which assignment was the homework. Flustered, Negoro handed it to her. She accepted it happily, thanked him for bringing it, said goodbye with a bright smile, and closed the door. Negoro reflected that she had been incredibly fast, and that he had not even gotten the chance to explain the homework. Still, he acknowledged that this was Makura Koiro. From the next day onward, every visit was the same. She greeted him in cute casual clothes, handled the conversation with smooth social skills, and saw him off with a flawless smile. He thought it was amazing that she could maintain such god-tier service every single time. Yet he could not understand why someone so put together, someone who seemed like she would be loved by everyone, would live as a shut-in. He also could not explain the 10-minute wait every visit. On his 5th visit, he once again waited outside in the heat, thinking about how exhausting it was and how he wanted to hurry back to his cool cram school, though all he ever did there was study anyway. At that moment, he heard footsteps and saw a delivery man coming down the stairs. They exchanged brief apologies. Watching the man, Negoro realized the delivery was for Makura's place and wondered whether she had ordered something. He noted the box was fairly large. As the door opened once more, Negoro noticed it and paused, sensing that something was off. The scene then showed Makura attempting to lift the parcel box. After struggling, she set it back down and muttered that it was too heavy, deciding she would have to drag it instead. As she slid the box across the floor with a strained groan, Negoro watched from a distance. In his thoughts, he realized that she was wearing pajamas and immediately felt like he was witnessing something he was not supposed to see. His face flushed as he looked away until Makura suddenly noticed him. Startled, she shouted, demanding to know why he was there. Flustered, Negoro hastily explained that it was not as if he had no reason, he had simply come to deliver the homework. Makura fumbled through the papers, pointed out that it was today's assignment, and then laughed awkwardly, embarrassed that someone had seen her like this. Negoro found himself at a loss for words. As Makura stood up, she admitted that she had completely let her guard down. Negoro reflected internally that it was strange seeing her like this, since she was always perfectly put together whenever he visited. A sudden realization struck him before coming out to see him. She must have been getting dressed every time. Scratching her head, Makura apologized for looking sloppy. Negoro replied honestly that she did not need to get ready just to see him, adding that she looked fine in pajamas. She froze in response. Noticing her reaction, Negoro wondered if he had crossed a line and quickly apologized, asking her to forget what he had said. Instead, Makura shouted in disbelief, asking whether he truly thought it was okay for her to look like this. She clenched her hands and questioned whether it was really acceptable for her to appear messy and not cute at all. Negoro, blushing, told her sincerely that she should wear whatever she liked and that she did not need to worry about him. Makura blushed as well, then laughed and thanked him. Confused, Negoro asked why she had thanked him, but she only replied that it was a secret. Letting it go, Negoro shifted the topic and asked whether she was actually doing the homework he brought her. Makura froze. Abruptly, she tried to close the door, saying she would go for now. Negoro quickly grabbed it, telling her to wait. She insisted they talk but claimed she needed to close the door first. Negoro protested, saying it was strange to close the door if they were going to talk at all. As she pushed back, he yelped in pain. The door opened just enough for Negoro to see inside. Makura panicked and told him not to look, but it was too late. He saw the television still on, books scattered across the floor, games left running, empty snack wrappers, cup noodles, stacks of manga, and what appeared to be untouched homework assignments piled around the room. Staring in shock, Negoro asked what on earth he was looking at. Makura admitted that he had seen her ultimate messy setup. Negoro repeated the phrase in disbelief and asked whether she was actually having fun living like this. Laughing, Makura said that since she had been found out, there was no point hiding it anymore. Gripping her fist with determination, she declared that she had decided to fully enjoy her summer break in pajamas, no matter what. Negoro repeated her words in confusion, while she proudly described her ideal summer reading manga, sleeping whenever she wanted, playing games, and doing whatever she pleased, all while staying in pajamas at home. She called it the best summer break ever, though she admitted that being told about extra lessons was a bit of a hassle. Negoro reflected that this was Makura's true self. She had always seemed so polished, but his impression of her had completely changed. Still, he reminded himself that he was just the person delivering her homework, so it did not really concern him. Aloud, he pointed out that she was short on attendance credits. Makura laughed and admitted that she had skipped far too much school. She explained that she enjoyed games and manga so much that she simply could not stop. Watching her, Nagoro blushed and thought that Makura truly was something else. The way she fully committed to what she loved took real nerve. She then asked whether Miss Kamada had said anything about her. Nagoro replied that the teacher had only told him to deliver the homework and check in on her. Makura understood immediately, realizing that the teacher had been worried she might be shut in and depressed. Nagoro commented that she seemed quite lively instead. With a worried, puppy-like expression, Makura asked whether he was going to tell the teacher about all this. Caught off guard, Nagoro assured her that he would not say anything, adding that it was summer break and there was no need to drag her back to boring school. Makura beamed and said that he really understood her. She then complained about how boring school was, pointing out that Nagoro was good at studying. When he questioned that claim, she reminded him that the homework instructions said he was the smartest in their grade. Nagoro internally noted that she really did say whatever she wanted. Makura concluded that this must mean he liked studying and said she respected him for it. Her words reminded Nagoro of Kumada's earlier question about whether he actually liked studying. Tensing up, he admitted that he did not. Makura then asked whether there was something he wanted to be in the future. Nagoro thought that she probably found him strange. When she repeated that she was enjoying everything too much, he admitted that he did not really have any goals. Internally, he acknowledged that he had nothing he truly wanted to do and had spent his entire life just studying, even considering himself a boring person. Makura smirked, then suddenly brightened and suggested that he should skip school too. Shocked, Nagoro questioned her, but she continued enthusiastically, offering to teach him her secret to being super lazy. Blushing, Nagoro repeated the phrase in disbelief. Smiling, Makura explained that the secret was simply doing what you liked every day. She added that he could sleep whenever he wanted and be lazy without guilt. Nagoro reflected that ever since childhood, studying had chained him down, yet here he was now. Makura invited him to slack off together. Nagoro was stunned, unable to believe he had received an invitation like that. Blushing, he thought about how slacking off was the complete opposite of how he had lived his life. When she asked what he was going to do, he hesitated, then realized that maybe if it was with Makura, he could actually change this boring version of himself. Clenching his hand, he finally asked how one even slacked off in the first place. And just like that, Nagoro reflected, his summer break had begun with the mysterious girl named Makura Koiro. Grinning, Makura said that sounded good and declared that she would teach him how to slack off. She poked his chest playfully, causing him to blush. She then announced that she wanted to clean her room that day and told him to come over again tomorrow. Nagoro agreed. Makura extended her hand toward him. Confused, he asked what it was for. She replied that they were going to enjoy this summer their own way more than anyone else and promised it. After a moment of hesitation, Nagoro took her hand and agreed, adding firmly that they were still doing the homework. Makura groaned but reluctantly accepted. The scene then shifted to the next day at school. In the staff room, Kamada reacted loudly upon hearing that Nagoro was quitting summer classes, accusing him of going delinquent and remarking that she had thought he was just difficult because he was too smart for his own good. Flustered, Nagoro denied it and explained that the class level did not suit him, so he planned to self-study at home or at cram school instead. Internally, he noted that there was no way he could admit he would be slacking off at Makura's, reasoning that since they would technically still be studying, it was a gray area. With a tense expression, he waited for her response. Kumada said she understood, and then asked how Makura was doing and whether she seemed okay. Nagoro replied vaguely that she was, adding internally that lively was one way to describe her. He reflected that her energy, especially her friendliness and her odd mix of formal and informal speech, felt unnatural, almost like an act. Since Makura had not wanted him to report her situation in detail, he decided to keep his answer vague. Aloud, he said that she seemed fine when they talked, but added that she appeared to spend every day in her pajamas. Kumada repeated the word pajamas in surprise, then nodded thoughtfully, saying she understood now. Nagoro panicked, wondering whether he had said something he should not have. Kumada quickly dismissed it and teasingly suggested that perhaps this studying was happening at Makura's place. Shocked, Nagoro denied it, insisting that he was just studying there and that there was nothing suspicious going on. Laughing, Kumada said she understood, while Nagoro thought to himself that she absolutely did not. Kumada then said she would inform the summer course teacher that Nagoro was withdrawing. Hesitant, he asked whether that was really okay. She agreed but told him that in exchange, he had to continue picking up Makura's assignments. Handing him a paper, she added that he should try to get along with her. Nagoro accepted and agreed. As he turned to leave, Kumada jokingly added that next semester, the two of them had better come back as a completely pure couple. Blushing furiously, Nagoro shouted for her to stop worrying about weird things. The scene shifted again. Nagoro reflected that he could understand why Kumada had been shocked. Slacking off officially started today, but he could not believe how someone who had only been delivering assignments every day had ended up being allowed into Makura's room. Shaking his head, he rejected the idea of them being a couple, insisting internally that he was there purely for homework and slacking off nothing indecent. He rang the doorbell. From inside, Makura responded faintly. He announced himself, and she told him to wait a moment. When she opened the door, she greeted him with a yawn, welcoming him inside. Noticing her sleepy state, Nagoro asked whether she had just woken up. She replied that she had woken up shortly before he arrived and invited him in, pointing out that it was hot outside and telling him to make himself at home. After a brief pause, Nagoro agreed and stepped inside. Nagoro then entered the room and froze with a surprised expression, remarking that it was incredibly clean. Makura smiled, and as he looked around, he apologized for making her tidy up, saying the room had been quite messy the other day. She quickly denied it, explaining that it had only been temporary and that she usually kept the room fairly clean. He replied that, as people often said, a comfortable life began with a comfortable home. Makura responded that she would not really know about that, then told him to sit on the bed or anywhere he liked. He repeated the word anywhere under his breath as she said she would be right back and headed to the other room to grab something to drink. He thanked her and sat down on the bed, letting out a quiet sigh. Blushing, he admitted to himself that it was his first time in a girl's room. He observed that the room was overall very cute and smelled nice, almost like fabric softener. Suddenly, he felt something beneath him and stiffened. His thoughts spiraled as he remembered the teacher's words about returning as a totally pure couple. Being alone in a girl's room made him think there was a chance of something inappropriate happening. Startled by his own imagination, he squeezed the bedding, then slapped his cheeks and scolded himself internally to banish those dirty thoughts. He reminded himself that he was only there to make sure Makura did her assignment and nothing more, and that he needed something to distract himself. Noticing something on the floor, he murmured in confusion and picked it up, assuming it might be a handkerchief she had forgotten to put away. At that moment, Makura rushed back in and shouted for him not to look. Shocked, he let out a confused sound, only to realize that what he was holding was her underwear. He panicked, blushing furiously, as she hurried over and snatched it from his hand, equally flustered. He thought to himself that right after chasing away his impure thoughts, he had somehow stumbled upon something even more dangerous. Makura hesitantly asked whether he had seen it. He wondered internally if there was any way he could claim he had not and still escape the situation. She reluctantly said she supposed so and turned away, leaving an awkward silence hanging in the air. He thought about how unbearably awkward the moment was. With a tense expression, she admitted that it was her fault for not cleaning up properly, then turned back toward him and warned that if he looked again, she would fine him. He shouted back that a fine was going too far. Grumbling about her own carelessness, she said she would put it away for now and left the room again. Left alone, he wondered if this was really what a girl's room was like and questioned whether he would even survive being there. Soon after, Makura returned and placed a glass on the table, offering him tea. She apologized for making things hectic right from the start. He replied that it was fine and said he was the one intruding, apologizing for making her fuss over him. As he took a sip, he realized why he had come and handed her the day's assignment. She bowed deeply, thanking him, then set the paper on the wardrobe and clapped her hands, announcing that everything was settled. He immediately objected, but she declared that she would pass on doing homework. He firmly told her she could not do that, explaining that she would be held back if she did not complete it. He offered to teach her the parts she did not understand and tapped the table for emphasis. She protested, saying that was not the plan and accusing him of coming over to learn how to slack off. He admitted that she was right and reflected that he had indeed come to learn about slacking off, maybe even pick up a few tips, so perhaps they could set the homework aside for a while. He then suggested that they slack off for the day. Makura praised the idea and told him to first let all the tension leave his body. He lay down on the floor as she instructed him to relax. She suddenly slapped the table and told him to repeat after her. Confused, he hesitantly repeated the word relax, his expression dazed. He wondered when the last time was that he had completely zoned out, feeling his strength melt away as if he were sinking into something comfortable. He realized that this must be what slacking off felt like. She then handed him a game controller with a smile and suggested they play a game together. He admitted that he had never played games before. Shocked, she asked if he was even human. He replied dryly that he was fairly sure he belonged to the species Homo sapiens. She commented that his comeback sounded extremely academic. After a brief pause, she told him to just watch her play. He agreed that watching was fine. She invited him to sit beside her, and though hesitant, he politely agreed and took a seat. As he settled next to her, he realized just how close they were. Blushing, he noticed her large eyes, long lashes, straight nose, and soft-looking lips, as well as the pajamas she was wearing, which had several revealing gaps.
By the way, if you enjoyed the video, maybe consider liking and subscribing, pretty please?